My story. My name is Daniel LaRoche. I was born and raised in Lyon, though ever since I was young, I dreamed of someday finding myself in Paris, not just as a tourist, but as someone who would feel the city with every part of his being. I always believed Paris changed the life of anyone who stepped into it. And, as it turned out, that belief was prophetic. I was 19 when I first arrived in the capital. I remember that morning. The sky pale blue and quiet, the fresh smell of coffee drifting from small cafes as if inviting me to walk further, toward new adventures. I stopped near the Louvre, the largest museum in the world, which I had only seen on postcards before. And that's where I saw her. She was standing near the fountain, leaning slightly forward as if listening to the sound of the water. Her dark hair drifted in the wind, and her gaze was fixed somewhere far away, thoughtful, yet full of inner light. This was her, Julia Delacroix. I didn't know how to approach her. I didn't even know if I should. But Paris is a city that doesn't let you hesitate. It pushes you forward. So I took a deep breath and said, "Excuse me, mademoiselle, would you mind some company?" She turned, and in that moment the whole world shrank to her eyes. Large, brown, with a tiny spark of mischievousness. "Company in Paris is never unwelcome," she smiled. And that's how the story began. One I wouldn't be able to speak about for a long time without trembling. We walked along the banks of the Seine, ate warm croissants, laughed at tourists trying to pronounce the French R. Julia was a true Parisian. Graceful, strong-willed, and free in that unmistakable way that makes a woman unforgettable. She showed me the city not like a tourist map, but as a part of her soul. "This is where I first fell in love," she said. "Here is where I cried from happiness for the first time. And here I learned that Paris teaches us to forgive even those who don't deserve it." I listened and fell deeper in love, with her voice, her words, her every motion. Those days were the best of my life. We sat on the rooftop of an old building, watched the sparkling lights of the Eiffel Tower, and even then I knew she was my future. But the future is unpredictable. I returned to Lyon, but we called each other every day, wrote letters, sent photos. I worked at my father's mechanic shop, spending nights dreaming of moving to Paris. Until one day, when I came home, my mother sat in the kitchen with a troubled look, holding a white envelope. "Daniel, a notice arrived for you." My heart sank deep inside. I couldn't speak. I could only hear my own pulse pounding in my temples. Mandatory service, for 3 years. 3 years that could destroy everything I was just beginning to build. Julia was silent for a long time when I told her. Then she quietly said, "I'll wait, no matter how long." And I believed her. Because I needed to believe. The army, it doesn't ask if you're ready. It simply takes you. The first months were hell. Brutal training, cold barracks, sleepless nights. I often thought about Paris, about Julia, about whether she lived as brightly without me as she did with me. We exchanged letters. Her words were my only light. I reread them at night, pressing them to my chest as if that could bring her closer. And then, That day came. We were on another combat training mission. I remember the ground trembling from gunfire, the air filled with the smell of gunpowder. Then, a sharp whistle, a blunt strike, and darkness swallowing me whole. When I woke up, it was quiet. Too quiet. I tried to get up, but my body seemed to disappear below the waist. "Monsieur, don't move," someone shouted. "You've lost a lot of blood." Lost. A word that sounded like a sentence. My legs, they were gone. I screamed. Not from pain. From despair. From rage. From the realization that the life I was building had exploded into fragments. I didn't want to write her. I was terrified of imagining how she'd see me now. But I had to. She deserved the truth. I wrote a long letter. No drama. No pleas. Just truth. I don't know who I'll be tomorrow. But today, I am a man without legs. And you have the right to make any decision. Her reply was shorter than I expected. It hurts me deeply to read this. I wish you recovery. But I can't be part of this life. I'm sorry. I didn't cry. Tears would have been the easy way out. I simply stared at the ceiling while the world around me lost all meaning. I didn't leave the hospital for months. Doctors did their best. Prosthetics, rehabilitation, physical therapy. But the worst wounds were inside. They awarded me medals for courage, for service, for surviving where many wouldn't. My chest was covered with decorations. My heart with scars. And then one morning, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see an invalid, a victim, or a broken man. I saw someone who survived. I inhaled. Deeper than I had in half a year. And I understood. I had to return. Not to prove anything, but to place a final period. I arrived in Paris in my parade uniform. The medals gleamed in the sun, as if reminding the world each one had been paid for with blood, pain, and will. I bought a bouquet of white lilies, her favorite. Stopped in front of her building. And knocked. Julia came out. When she saw me, she froze. "Daniel, you came back," she whispered. I handed her the flowers. Calm, steady, without bitterness. "These are for you. For being a part of my life. For helping me understand the man I want to be." She didn't know what to say. Her lips trembled. But inside me, there was no more hurt. I turned around. And walked away. Walked into my future. Bright, clean, and deserved. A future I fought for, through blood, agony, and resilience. I didn't know what awaited me. But for the first time in a long while, I wasn't afraid. I had earned the right to live.